Thank you, Alexandra, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining this event, which is an event organized under the TREIO Project. As many of you know, but if you don't know, the TREIO Project is a project that aims at providing a specific training on European investigation order. And this training is naturally, I would say, embedded, linked to the eEDES system, because this is a training which will be delivered at the end of the project and has been developed together with the European Commission, and Christian Nicolaou is here today, as we have developed this tailor-made training, specifically building it up, not only considering the legal base of the European investigation order, but specifically the tool that the European Commission provides for the digital exchange of European investigation order requests and answers. So the aim today is to share with you what we have been working on, the results achieved so far, and also discuss about the needs, the expectations, and receive the feedback from you that are our main practitioners and stakeholders. So it is very important today not only to give you the idea of the work that has been done, but also to understand and discuss with you would say our sons, so the results of the TREIO project. I will not, you have received the agenda, so I guess you have seen that there are some presentations of the tools, but there is also a part dedicated to the specific experience of some member states with the TREIO, which I think will give you the idea of what is needed to meet the TREIO training, and eventually afterwards what you would need if you decide to go for training to realize. So together with presentation, there is a specific time frame dedicated to discussion. As Alexandra said, write your questions on the chat. Better if you raise your hands. I would try to keep the order of your hands raised. So sorry if sometimes I will not see all the hand raises, because you are a lot, so it's quite difficult to follow, but with the help of Alexandra, I think we can make it. I will not take any more time. I will leave the floor to Christian Nicolaou from the European Commission. Christian is the head of the unit of the Justice, IT and Document Management. So he is the father of the eEDES, and I will leave the floor to him to introduce himself and the system as well. Christian, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mariangela. I'm very honored to be here, and indeed I had the chance to be with the eEDES digital exchange system from the very beginning. That means around 2017, because the story of the eEDES digital exchange system started in 2016 with Council conclusion that asked the Commission and the Member State to build an IT system that it's able to streamline the use of forms and formats about instruments, legal instruments that are based on mutual legal cooperation. So the first instrument that we have chosen was the European Investigation Order, and that was because the Council conclusion were actually anticipating the eEDES proposal that was recently adopted by the co-legislator that mandates the possibility to take evidence directly from the internet service provider in a cross-border case. Coming back to the eEDES digital exchange system, we started building it as of 2017, and we had the first version ready in 2019. The eEDES digital exchange system is fully operated now on voluntary cooperation. We have 11 member states that are piloting the e-evidence digital exchange system, and I would like to share the list with you. It's Austria, Belgium, Germany, Spain, France, Hungary, Luxembourg, Latvia, Poland, Portugal, and Slovenia. So as of April last year, more and more countries joined, and now we have 11 countries in production, but in selected competent authorities. It was a long journey, and the journey will continue. I will have the possibility to speak about the journey of the e-evidence digital exchange system in the closing remark of the training today. But for now, I would just like to dive into the subject matter and to show you the e-evidence digital exchange system and how the e-evidence digital exchange system is used for sending and receiving an European investigation order. I want to say from the very beginning that the European Commission is providing a demo site where practitioners can receive a login and a username and can play with the e-evidence digital exchange system exactly as it would be in a prosecution office or in a court. So I would be trying now to share my screen. Okay. So now, can you see the e-evidence digital exchange system?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. We can.
A second to. Okay, so this is the e-evidence digital exchange system. This is the main dashboard of the system. It's designed to be very, very simple. It's designed to be very user-friendly. And during the course of the years, together with the team from Florence, but also with Alexandra and other colleagues, we had the possibility to test the e-evidence digital exchange system with actual prosecutors and judges before putting it into production. So what you can see here, it's a dashboard where it shows the issued request, the received request, and the drafts. It's pretty much like you would see maybe in an email client. It's just that this system is securely sending from one competent authority to the other European investigation order. So as you can see here, you have the list of issued requests, you have the list of received request drafts, and also you have the possibility to download entire cases. Now, some of the features of the IT system. First of all, the IT system is fully multilingual. So you are able to change the language of the system, and you'll have the possibility, now I would be trying to remember because I cannot read Polish, so you'll have the possibility to have the menu in a different language, but also you'll have the possibility to see the form of the European investigation order in that language as well. So then the need for the translation is minimal, but however, we are also providing translation, automatic translation for the European investigation orders. So coming to the dashboard, you are able to log in. Your name and function is shown here, and you have the possibility to go through all these menus. Now, for the purpose of the demonstration today, I am in the Czech Republic, and I would... Sorry?
Just go ahead.
Thank you. So I am in the Czech Republic, and I would be starting a request. So I would be sending an European investigation order to the Polish authority. So I'm starting a new request. I am choosing one of the possible requests. So I have European investigation order, or request for mutual legal assistance, or interception of telecommunication notification. I would start with the European Investigation Order request because this is the most complex workflow and form that we have now supporting by the system. And I would say TREIO 11050723. Now, the request is created in the system, it is in draft, and it shows the issuing authority. And what we have now to be choosing is the executing state. So for that, we are going to Annex A, and already you can see now that you have all the sections of the European Investigation Order that can be filled in by the system. So we are going to section A and we are selecting the executing state. Here you see a list of all EU member states, but for the purpose of the presentation today, I will only choose Poland because, as I am saying, this is a demo site. So here I'm choosing an executing authority. Now, the executing authorities that are configured in the system are demonstration authorities. But one thing that you are able to do as well, assuming that you are using this in real life, you are able also to consult the AGN Atlas, and if you, which is the competent authority, the system will direct you to the site of the AGN Atlas, and from there you can search and see which is the competent authority. Coming back to the e-evidence system, I am choosing for the purpose of the demonstration authority 1 in just a second because this seems Poland. Okay. Okay. So I'm choosing the authority in Poland. And now, as you can see, the system has filled in and shows that the executing state is the Republic of Poland and the authority that is chosen. Then I can go to the different sections of the European Investigation Order, and I can fill in with the relevant information. Already the system gives you one important tool, and this is something that was highlighted by the practitioners that were already using e-evidence, are already using the e-evidence digital exchange. And this is the validation check. When you are clicking on the validation check, the system checks for the compulsory fields in the European Investigation Order for the European Investigation Order to be legally admissible. So I am filling in the compulsory field, and normally, as you can see, the messages, the red messages are turning away, which means that the European Investigation Order has sufficient information to be executed. Here in section K, there is a very important element. If I choose a judicial authority, then on the European Investigation Order, by means of the directive, there is only need for one signature. But if I put any other competent authority as defined by the law in the issuing state, then there would be a need for two signatures in the European Investigation Order, because one of them has to be from a judicial authority. So I'm choosing a judicial authority, and then okay, I probably have to put the name of the judicial authority somewhere. And normally the flag will also go away. So at this moment, I have filled in the European Investigation Order with all the relevant information. As you can see, you can go through the fields and see the European investigation order fielding. Now, you can get a PDF print already. This is how the European investigation order is displayed in the PDF print. Most importantly, we can continue our workflow. So the eEvidence digital exchange system foresees several roles. For instance, you can have somebody drafting the European investigation order, you can have somebody validating the European investigation order, and you can have another person that is signing the European investigation order and sending the European investigation order. Here, for instance, as a reviewer, you can accept the review, you can reject or return for an amendment. One person can have all the roles, like it's the case now, but it could be that in the competent authority, there are several persons that are occupying the same position, or there are different actors in the workflow. Now we are at the point of signing the European investigation order. When we are clicking on the button sign, we have the eEvidence digital exchange system generating a PDF version of the European investigation order, and this PDF version can be signed by a qualified signature, which according to eEDES, the qualified signature is the highest level of digital signature available, and it's equivalent with a manuscript signature. Now, I have generated the Annex A, which is the European investigation order, and I'm opening it now with PDF. Okay. We are scrolling now to the part where this PDF needs to be signed. It's a long document. As you can see, there are more than 150 boxes to fill in on the European investigation order. But what we have learned from the colleagues that are already using it is that the system, it makes it much faster than filling it in on paper or in other form. Okay, perfect. Now I found the part where I need to sign, and now I'm choosing the certificate. Basically, I'm choosing which digital signature to use, and I would be signing here. I would reopen the PDF because I think there is a problem with my Adobe. Probably this is for me not invoking the gods of live demonstration before. Maybe at this point, we can open the floor for a few questions because my computer decides to be very, very slow. And then we can continue the demonstration.
Okay, so up to now, is there any question for Christian about the system, about functionalities and the features? See no hands raised.
Yes, I have a question. My name is Monica Martí from the European Judicial Training Network, in charge of criminal justice training activities and specifically on the European Investigation Order.
Okay,
I have two questions. The first one is that Christian said that we can have it is possible to have a demo site with a login and an email. Could be possible to have for EGTN to have a demo, or in order to be used in a training on the EIO?
Yes, of course. So we can provide you the email address from our technical support that will generate for your training username and passwords.
Super, because really is necessary. We are going to have a training, an advanced training based upon only workshops, so we don't have lectures, or let's say live lectures supporting the workshops. And the idea is to fill out in the workshop with around 30 practitioners from all EU member states the EIO on eEDES. And for this, we will need two demo from, as I understood, from being an issuing authority and being the executing authority. So in the training, we can have on real time the EIOs generating and discuss it. So I understand that it's possible.
Yes, indeed, it is possible, and you can have a demonstration, hopefully without the signature hiccup that I just had, but the computer decided to let me sign the European Investigation Order.
Yes,
so yes, it is indeed possible to use the demonstration site and to emulate two competent authorities to be able to send and receive the EIO and to be able to, at any point, discuss how the procedure is going.
Super. So I think, Christian, as EGTN, I will liaise with you, I imagine, and you can maybe put me in copy or in contact with your technical support in order to have this demo site for the simulation in our training. So then is done. So I will liaise with you, and you will put me in copy in contact with the technical support. So
exactly.
So I can contact you at the end of August for doing all this stuff, because we will have an expert meeting. Our experts are EGN contact points, and liaison magistrates in the member states. So I think, and people are having, of course, a legal background on international cooperation. So the idea is to try to have this ready along September, but ideally will be very important. It will be nice to contact you at the end of August in order to start the preparations and also to meet you to understand the process. And the second point that I wanted to ask you is, I understand that of course, I saw that the digital signature, meaning that any prosecutor in the EU should have a digital signature for using eEDES, right?
Indeed, at this moment, it's necessary to have a digital signature to use the IT system. Mm-hmm. Also, we can provide. I mean, this is more of a legal discussion than a technical discussion. For instance, for other use cases of the IT system, we have taken away the obligativity to have a digital signature, and we have generated the possibility to also attach a scanned document. But then if you are going with only the scanned document without the digital signature, we do not have the possibility to check whether it corresponds with what it was put in the system. So yes, it's good that the prosecutors and the judicial actors have a digital signature.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you very much. Then, as you could see, I was able to sign here digitally the European investigation order, closing the window, which is digitally signed, and I'm getting back to the application. And we are uploading in the system the signed Annex A of the European. Now, what the system will do now is not only update the European investigation order, but also will verify whether it is digitally signed or not. And also the system is verifying that the document that was signed, it's identical to the document that was generated by the system, so that no other modification were done. So as you can see, Annex A is uploaded. You can now submit it for sending. So Annex A is now submitted, and the competent authority in the issuing authority, in this case the Czech Republic, has the possibility to send this EIO to the Republic of Poland. You see here the disclaimer. Also, the system explains which are the languages that are accepted for the execution of the EIO in the Republic of Poland, but also there is the possibility to translate using the machine translation of the European Commission. I'm fine, I proceed with send, and I'm sending the Annex A. Now, the Annex A was sent, and then we can look at the event message timeline. So you see, you have here also a log of all the actions that have taken place, meaning that we have created the case, we have completed the case, reviewed, signed, and then sent. Now, it's going to take a few moments, but normally this document, which is here attached, and you could see, I'm trying to go quickly to show the signature, so you can check that it's the signed document that was sent. Left the Czech Republic and went to Poland. Also, there are other elements here. It is possible to submit comments that will go directly to the competent authority on the other side, and also at any point it's possible to attach further documents. So if you need from the very beginning to give more information that is in a different form than the European investigation order, maybe a photo, maybe other scanned documents, you are also able to do so. Now, let's go to the Polish Now you see here we are in the Polish section, and we should be seeing what we have in the receive requests. And here we have an EIO that was sent from the Czech Republic. Now the received date, it's a little bit deceiving, because this being a demo site, there are some things that are not correctly updated. But normally the login timeout should be, the login timing should be correct. As you can see, the time where it was updated, it's correct, and you have the document and all the list of files. Now, what you can do in the workflow from the side of the receiving authority, you can reject the EIO, return the EIO, create an outcome, or of course, reply with Annex B, which is the acknowledgement of receipt that you have received the document. So in a nutshell, this is the simplest workflow that it can be shown for the eEDES digital exchange system. And now I'm opening again the floor for questions.
Okay, so I have a question from the chat from Brodka Slawomir. Sorry for my pronunciation. And the question is, can we have it in a docx form? The form can be
no.
in docx? Okay. And
no.
I have...
it's only PDF, that the format.
Okay, and I have a hand raised by Alexandra. So please, Alexandra.
Yes, I wanted to comment on what Monica asked for. Actually, I believe that some of the tools that we are going to present today coming out from the TREIO project could be useful for the purposes of these workshops that you mentioned. With regards to at least the eEDES simulator that we are going to present today. So in case you're interested, you can also get in contact with us on this as well.
Okay, so I'm checking. I see that there are no other hands. Is there any other question for Christian?
Mariangela, we have some questions that were raised in the registration form. So maybe
yes,
we can go through some of them.
Yes.
One of the questions is about the deadline for implementing the eEDES by member states. Maybe Christian could take this one.
So, for the exact purpose of the European investigation order, the deadline for the member states to have it implemented is 1st of January 2027. However, in the meantime, there are other legal acts that will force the implementation of eEDES for different judicial instruments. For instance, according to the eEDES regulation that requires that offers the possibility to get directly evidence from the internet service providers, the legal obligation for eEDES to support that use case will be 2026, which means that all competent authorities in the case of the European production and preservation orders will be already available in the system and connected to the system. So with that, I would say that most likely and logically, there will be also all competent authorities for the European investigation order. So here, when you would be clicking on Start New Request, besides European investigation order, MLA, and ITN, you will be seeing here also production and preservation orders as use cases in the IT system.
Thank you, Christian. One other request refers to the authorities that have access to eEDES. Would it be possible for the police or other authorities, besides judicial ones, I guess, to issue an EIO?
So this is more like a legal question. Depending on how the judiciary is organized in each member state, that is possible. But the implementation of the eEDES digital exchange system depends on the functioning rules of the judiciary in every member state. So we are offering the system, but we are not doing any configuration on the side of the member states. I think in Finland, for instance, a police is a competent authority to issue an European investigation order, but then we are most likely falling into the case where on section K here of the European investigation order, we will have to click the box any other competent authority, and then there would be two signatures, because it would be the signature of the competent authority that issued the European investigation order, but also the signature of the judicial authority that validated the European investigation order.
Thank you. One other question. Again, it's a bit of a strategic matter, but a colleague from Bulgaria asks questions about the communication flow of EIOs and MLAs, whether there is a need for is it possible to have direct contact between issuing and executing authorities, or this could be done only through a contact point determined by each member state?
Again, this is strictly depending on how the judiciary is organized. Normally, as you can see here, I would open a new request. You will have access to the court database, which will have all the competent courts. So normally the system is able to send an EIO from one competent authority to other competent authority as it is declared by the executing member state. So it's very important how the executing state is it's organized. As you can see here, as executing authority, you have quite a number of possible authorities.
Okay. There are two technical questions as well. One refers to the type of electronic signature that could be used.
At this moment, you can use any type of electronic signature. So there is no check of the system that is a qualified electronic signature or a simple or an advanced electronic signature. What actually I have used for the purpose of the demonstration was an advanced electronic signature.
Should it be applied only for the Annex A or for all other annexes and messages?
The system at this moment foresees signature only for Annex A. And I think this is the requirement that comes from the EIO directive. Whereas, for instance, if we are having a similar use case for civil justice, which would be the service of documents, there the requirement is that the signature is applied for all documents. So all documents are electronically signed.
Okay. Another question refers to the potential integration of eEDES with a member state's information systems. Is it possible, or it should be used solely as an independent system?
Is it possible? And probably this is the future for the eEDES digital exchange system. So imagine, for instance, that when you are filling in the data regarding a certain subject, you can already get it directly from the national system. The eEDES digital exchange system is foreseen with the so-called web services. So it allows the technical teams to connect the system with national case management system. However, although this is the case, for instance, in Portugal and in Spain, it's possible that this might take a little bit of time because we only have 11 member states that are piloting the system. So before getting to all 25 or even 27, it would take some time, and then connecting to the national system.
I have two questions from the chat. So one is from Lucas Simic, and he asks, is it possible to send an European investigation order or mutual legal assistance request to more than one authority on the part of executing member states via eEDES at the same time?
No, this is not possible, and this is because in the EIO regulation, this possibility is not foreseen. So if one issuing state would like to have the same European investigation order, it has to be sent every time as an individual European investigation order to the executing state. However, for the possibility of the system, and I hope that you can still see my screen, you have this button that it says copy case. So you are able to draft an European investigation order, send it to member state A, but then you are able to copy case and repeat directly the European investigation order, only changing the data that you need to change and is relevant for the executing state.
Okay, and another question is by Tuuli Eurolainen, and the question is, can EJN Atlas give the correct executing authority when the measure is indicated? As it seems sometimes that the issuing authority just guesses the correct executing authority and guesses wrong.
Well,
it is about the identification of the authority, yeah.
The AGM Atlas is not directly connected to the European investigation order system, to the eEDES digital exchange system. The European Judicial Atlas is providing this information as we speak, even for the paper, and we have found a way to seamlessly integrate the information in the Judicial Atlas with the eEDES digital exchange system. But the authorities, as they appear in the court database, in the eEDES digital exchange system, are stored in a separate database. So in eEDES itself, there is no information of which is the competent authority. It's got to be chosen from a list of competent authorities. So knowing, the practitioner will have to know from the European Judicial Atlas which is the exact competent authority for a certain case. Of course, what the system also offers as possibility in the workflow, and let's see, maybe I have here a received request. Mm-hmm. Let's take this one, for instance. In the workflow, you can have the acknowledgement of the receipt, you can reject EIO, return EIO, create outcome, notify, request additional information, send other information, or forward. Mm-hmm. So when you are forwarding a case, so assuming that you have received something that is not for the competent authority that you are working on, you are able to select a different competent authority to forward the message to. But it's important to have this forward inside, of course, the state. So I'm going to choose something in the Czech Republic. Voila. So it's possible to forward to the correct competent authority.
Okay. And another question is by Chobataru Florin, and it's about the format of Annex A. And the point is that the format of Annex A is all written with the same fonts, and the text filled by the issuing authority with the same fonts, which make it hard to read in practice. Is it possible in this application to bold, for example, what the issuing authority fills in the form? That would make the reading much more easier.
Well, it's the first time we are hearing this request. What we have done for the purpose of this IT system, it's actually to use the forms as they are annexed to the EIO directive. Now, for this type of changes, we have an expert group that it's acting as a project steering committee. We are making all these requests in a list, and we have to have it approved by the expert group. Why? Because we have a number of them, and what you see here as IT system is going to be implemented identically in all member states. It's a so-called reference implementation. So we have to have the steering committee that is actually coming and approving any change to the system. But as it is now, we cannot change the fonts in the PDF.
Okay.
Christian, perhaps just a clarification. This is Jean Subonici. I was just wondering whether the question is rather, can there be a text editor when filling in the form itself? For example, if an authority would want to underline a particular name or bold a particular name, in some boxes there is no text, there is no possibility for the text to be changed. So it's not the format of the form itself, but when you are filling in. Usually if you fill it in Word, you can sometimes highlight, sort of make something in bold or underlined. Here the only possibility is to do things in caps. Perhaps that's the question, but I'm just trying to interpret the question. Sorry for this interruption.
No, thank you very much, Jean. Maybe indeed this was the question, but it's not possible. So the only thing that the system foresees at this moment in time is to fill it in as is.
Okay. So
but of course, again, we can look into different possibilities.
We'll just have other questions, so I will address other two questions, and then I think that you can, if you have further questions, you can also keep it for the end of this, for the final session where Christian will present the way forward of eEDES. So one question is, Christian, about Alice, from Alice Ustav, and it's what happens if I forward the European investigation order? I think it refers to the case where the authority that receives the European investigation order forwarded to the competent, to another competent authorities. Does the original authority still see the workflow?
No, at that moment, the authority that originally received will not see the workflow.
Okay. So, and
the
another
workflow will be directly from, let's say, bilateral between the competent authority that received and the other.
Okay.
But in the message timeline, you are able to see exactly what happened to that EIO.
Oh yeah. Okay. And the last question is: it's by Aliaj Britsvich. Will the sending of the freezing orders and confiscation orders be included in the future? And it's
Yes.
also the regulation is cited.
So this is also something that I would be speaking in my closing remarks.
Okay.
One of the legal initiative was the digitalization of cross-border judicial cooperation. And there, all cross-border judicial cooperation instruments that foresees exchange of forms is foreseen to be included in the system.
Okay. So I see no hands raised, no other questions on the chat. So thank you very much, Christian. Thank you to the audience for the question. Yes.
Actually, I raised my hand. There is also another question by Tuli in the chat.
Okay.
Are there in the system grounds for returning, or do you write them each time?
Please, can you repeat?
Are there in the system grounds for returning, or do you write them each time?
So there is no drop down when returning an EIO. So if you return an EIO, you can only input here free text, and you can also attach a document. But there is no drop down list to let you choose from possible reasons of returning an EIO, because this is not foreseen in an EIO directive.
Okay.
Thank you. And just one more question. It's a legal one, but I think this may be discussed probably in the expert group as well.
Yeah.
May the practitioners use eEDES for a classified information?
At this moment, eEDES and eCodex is not accredited for classified information in the sense of EU classified, so EU restricted or EU top secret.
Okay. And last question by Tuli. What about when rejecting? Refusing?
Let me check, but it's the same. It's exactly the same.
Okay. Okay. So thank you very much. It's been a very interesting session. And now it's time for a presentation by Professor Jean Mifsud Bonici about the training methodology which is embedded with the use of eEDES system. And Jean will present the TREIO experience in building up specific training to pave the way to both the use of eEDES system, but also the exchange of the European investigation order in a digital environment. So, Jean, you have the floor. The modality is the same. We can open the floor if you guess, Jean, at a certain point of your presentation, or at the end, raise your hand or write it on the chat. Thank you. Jean, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mariangela. I will, just before I start, I'm going to remove my camera just because I don't know whether you've noticed, but from time to time it's playing up with very obscure colors. So that I think is just distracting. But you will continue to hear me, and I hope that you can see my screen. Is that the case? Can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So where are we now? You've heard Christian show us the system, and you would like to, of course, make sure that all the people who will be using the system are also trained to use the system. They are also probably or mostly people who also have a very strong legal background in the EIO, and also a strong setup in their own processes according to your national context. According to each member state, there are different processes and different ways that you handle EIOs. So keeping this in mind, training large amounts of people, and people knowledgeable in the legal issues and who will, like you have been doing, ask questions that are also very much in a legally pertinent questions, and people who are used to a particular workflow. How do you do the training? That's the challenge we took up in the TREIO project. And what I'd like to share with you is what we've tried to do to enable this training. And when I say try, is because it's a process of learning. We have set up a training, but we're constantly, we've put up a training that is adaptable and flexible to the needs of different member states. And I will explain as we go along what we have done and what we are doing. Let me say from the very beginning that if your member state or if your authority has any needs for training and would like to use any of the training materials, please be in touch. We are very happy to facilitate this training. Our philosophy from the start, as I said, is trying to meet this need of understanding this technical system with a legal knowledge, and sometimes having people coming into the process as new, and also understanding that different member states have different workflows that are going on. So we have prepared three steps in our training concept. First, a set of training materials. I will go through a bit each of these three blocks that I have online, or rather in this first screen, in more detail as we go along. So we have first training materials, which you could imagine are more the classical types of training materials where you have written materials, guidance for a trainer on how to do the material, and these written training materials combine both the how does eEDES work and the workflow in eEDES together with the legal realities. Because, of course, it's very good to have a good technical system, but we cannot forget the legal needs that are started by the EIO. So let me give a concrete example. Christian showed us on screen, right, that there are these validation stars. So if you do not fill in a particular box, you get a red, things are highlighted in red that you're missing important information, but the system doesn't check that that information is actually, that the information that you put in is actually relevant and good. And that relevance and good comes from also the legal requirements of what is relevant and what is needed. So it's in this training, in these training materials, we have materials that show both this combination of the what are the technical setup and what are a reflection of how does the legal requirements fit into this. And these written materials have so firstly, how do you do the training? So if somebody is carrying out the training, what to emphasize? Then there are materials that can be used during the trainings, including PowerPoints, cases that can be used for practice during the session, additional materials on what are the current academic papers that have been written on this, what are, more importantly, the decisions of the CJEU on the EIO, so that can complement the understanding of how we're working. And also an evaluation questionnaire, which help anticipate the needs of your audience and also how the audience is learning as you go along. We have prepared these training materials in English and translated them right now into 15 languages, and we have the resources and availability to translate into more languages if there is a request to do so. I will come to this in one step further in a little bit. Together with this training, the materials themselves, we have also organized trainings. With the approach that we took originally is to train a group of people who could then train others in any member state. But we have been flexible on this, and I will explain also what type of flexibility we've put in. And thirdly, we're developing an e-learning, a completely learning space. I will not cover this in this presentation because my colleagues will do so later after this presentation. So let me go slightly deeper into the training materials. So the training materials cover the same, very much very similar to what Christian has done now, very briefly in the demo. So first we look at how do you issue an EIO using eEDES, again, together with the legal aspects and some reflections on national specificities. Then move on to the receiving and execution of an EIO, always following the workflow as in the eEDES platform. And we also have parts for the notification of interception of telecommunications, so NXC, and also for MLAs. Yes, is there a question? Can I take the question? No, perhaps there wasn't a question.
No, it was the microphone open.
Okay, good. Then let me continue a little bit further. So this is the basics of the curriculum. Goes from the scope to the issuing of an EIO to the receipt, and also for MLAs and NXC. And again, with additional information that can be used in the training. It is not obligatory to use all of this material in the training, but we give a complete package that can be adapted to the needs of the audience that one has. So if one has a group of very early prosecutors who have never used the EIO even in daily life, this has the complete educational package, if you would like it to say it that way, from the legal side to eEDES. If you have a very expert audience of people who have been using the EIO more on a daily basis, then this can be tailored to focus mostly or primarily on the eEDES workflow and how this relates to the national context. We also give suggestions on how this can be also divided if one were to do the trainings. We usually we recommend an approach of having 2 half days. So, and in between the half days, giving access to the demo platform, as Christian said, so that participants can also practice individually and on their own, and also, if you want, in the class environment, to have also live exchanges between participants. We have in the different trainings tried different modalities according to the needs of the audience. So here on the slide I show a little bit how we recommend that the division could be made on 2 half days, and when after the between the 2 half days we also give what I jokingly usually refer to as homework to the participants, so that they can also test and experience the eEDES platform on their own. As I said, so the master of this training is in English. It has been translated in 15 languages. That is on screen right now. One word on the translation. The translation has been done by professional translators, but not. But we have asked each member state where we have translated the materials into their language to also look at the translations and also give us back their recommended versions of the translation. And we have validation for 7 of the, or rather validation for 7 of the languages is still in progress, and 8 have been validated. And let me remind you as well that there could be if more translations upon request if this is necessary. Who have we trained so far? And you could look at it as who has been tested on in a way, and who is this for who is this training good? It's of course for judges, prosecutors, and other competent authorities that may have who are competent to send EIOs. We've done this also with higher administrative officials in different authorities that are responsible of helping and assisting in the drafting. And according to the different member states, for example, in the Netherlands, we know that the police have also quite an important role in the drafting. So there as well, training is important to be done at that level as well. And the content is also useful for these audiences. So I said our idea originally was to train a group of people from every member state, and that these trainers will then take up this national training in a cascading form. And let me remind you here, the training is not a lecture type, just a lecture type thing, this is what it is, but it is a combination of, one can do a combination of explanation, demonstration, and hands-on experience with the system itself. Each one of these modalities depends on also how the national context or the national trainers would like to do this. And this is the part for what we call the national training, so the needs for each group. But of course, it's very important to understand each other because we are working in an international environment where there are exchanges and legal contexts that are different. And so we have also international seminars. We have 6 coming up in September, where we would like to focus on particular aspects of the EIO that we can go deeper from the experiences of the international audience or other participants from the different member states. That training will be led by us, that is by the TREIO team. The national trainings has been a combination where the national setup feels that it's able to carry out the national training. We have trained trainers or gone with training with the trainers, and then the trainers did the training in the national context. In some other countries, it was felt that it would be good if the whole training was carried out by us. And we did this with a number of countries where we did trainings in person or online in the national context. There were other countries that thought that they could avail themselves of the materials that were prepared in the TREIO project, but then use this into and integrated this into their own training systems. So what am I getting at here is that this training material allows for a lot of flexibility. Together with us at TREIO team, we are also very flexible to meet the needs that you have for daily life. And so there's a lot of flexibility in the modules themselves and also in us in offering support in carrying out this training. And there's also a variety of time schedules that one may want to follow. So as I said, we recommend 2 half days. We carried this on site, for example, with the Netherlands, where we did 1 afternoon, the evening of complete active hands-on practice, even during dinner, with a special scenario that we all worked in different groups with, and another half session in the morning. So that also the flexibility in how to do this depends on the needs of the member states. And if I were to put this on the slide, we could think of it into sort of 4 modalities that we have, where we give the package in the language that is needed with all the materials and access to whatever is needed by the member states. We could add this into the next, and not only the materials, but carry out a training for master trainers and having access to the demo platform. And in addition, we have now also developed a simulation platform, which my colleagues will describe in the next presentation. And in between package, so a third modality where of course there's always all the package of materials is made available in English and also in the national language, and that we carry out the training in English for the audience, or the full package where we give the whole package, training of the trainers, support on site with the training, and all the needs that the member state has. So we've thought out the content to be flexible enough to be used according to the needs of the member state. keeping in mind, as I said again, that this needs to be an introduction and a good identification of needs for eEDES, reflecting that we're speaking about people with experience, mostly with a legal knowledge, and thirdly, also, we need to be able to understand how this will fit into the workflow. So many times we did get a question of, but how will this integrate into our system? We already have a registration of EIOs in our national context. How will this work? We do not have the answer, but we initiate the discussion with the authority on reflection of the needs of the group, also to be reflected in the training. So if I were to put this just in one last slide, or I'm coming to towards the end of this first part of what TREIO can offer, is that we have a training set which is complete in English and in the national language. We can train master trainers and or carry out trainings as you would need. We can help also take what is needed from the methodology to adapt only to the needs that you have for your own training. And it's also a reminder that the eEDES approach, the training that we have adopted here is also very flexible and will be useful as eEDES expands into different areas as we go along, as Christian will let us know later today. In the e-learning, this will be covered by my colleagues, but this very much complements, it can be a standalone, but it also complements this collection of training materials and training methodologies that we have adopted so far. We offer all of the training materials that we have developed, and perhaps also, if I may add, the experience that we have gained now in carrying out training or assisting in training in that cover the 15 languages that we have. So we are happy to think with you on what are your needs and how do we carry them out. And please do get in touch, and I think that the best person as a start for this will be to contact Alexandra. And of course, we work as a team, so we are all quickly together. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to questions at this point.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you. So the floor is open to questions from the chat, or raise your hands, please. I will look at the list and try to. I have no hands raised at the moment.
I have some questions from the registration forms.
Yes, please start.
One colleague from Poland asks, which is the best method for eEDES related training according to us? Is it about e-learning or instructor-led type of training, virtually or in person in a room?
I would say the first guiding line is to see who do you want to train. So what is your audience? And this is the guiding line that we have suggested for every member state. And I think this is the one that has worked best, in the sense that then according to who we have as audience, we have adapted. So I have found out that having an online training can work very well, especially with people who are very busy and can only fit in a training, a short training in their busy schedule. An in-person training with more opportunity to try out the system together with others. That worked best when this was in a physical environment. However, it very much depended on what were the needs of our audience that we were collaborating with. I think the colleagues who will present their experience from Greece and from Portugal will explain further what their considerations were when they were making choices on how best to carry out the training, and how we also discussed how best to support in that training.
Okay.
Thank you, Jean. There are a couple of questions from different persons, again from the registration forms. They relate to how a member state that is not currently involved in the TREIO project can join the project and participate in the trainings. And is it possible to organize training session for the member states which does not participate in the project but are considering to implement eEDES? I believe this has already been covered by Jean's presentation. As I wrote in the chat, you can write to all these requests to our project email, or as Jean presented to me directly. It doesn't matter for me, as long as you manage to reach us. So yes, there is also a question in the chat in the same direction. How can the member states apply for translation of trainings into its national language? How can apply for training of national master trainers? Is it possible for a member state who is not participating in the TREIO project to do so? Yes, to all these questions, you just need to get in touch with us, no matter the email, just get in touch. State your preferences. We'll get back to you for a one-to-one conversation and then decide which is the best approach. The language, the setting of the training, or in this case, the translation of the training materials or whatever. We've been doing this for the past 2 years, and I believe we've managed to accommodate all requests so far. The project is running until the end of the year, so if there are such requests, this is the best time to get in touch, so we can actually have time to implement these requests by the end of the year. There will be a number of events that will follow from our site as well that could be helpful in one way or another to your audiences, but this is something that we can discuss in the end.
Okay, and let's add also that at the end of the project, all these tools that have been realized by the project will be released all together in a toolkit, which will be accessible and ready to be used by each member state that didn't have the opportunity to do it during this the dive of the TREIO project. And together in this toolkit, there will be all the materials that Jean presented, but also the e-learning tool and the simulator of the workflow relating European Investigation Order, which you will learn more about just in the next sessions.
Mariangela, if I may, just 1 second, I would say it's thank you, Mariangela, for reminding us of the toolkit, but do not wait until the toolkit. We're here, and you do not need to have been a member of the TREIO project. We're here to support you according to your needs, because we know that the implementation of the eEDES is all an important step in all of the countries, and we're here to support.
And let me add also that, as I remember, a lot of doubts about the training were also on the translation, no? Because, of course, when you get into national context, you need to have the training in your language, native language, because otherwise it can be very difficult, because English is still a barrier in a lot of member states, specifically and especially in the judiciary. So we have the possibility to have translations in a lot of languages of the European member states. And if we don't have, we are open to work on that. So this is a European project funded by the European Commission. So all the funds that are given are devoted to realize as much as possible the goals of the project. So if a language is not yet there, please, as Alexandra and Jean said, write to us, get in contact with us, because we have quite a good experience in realizing the translations in, I would say now, in other languages, and you will be also able to correct and validate the content of the translation and to adapt it to your national specificities. So if we don't have any hand raised, I don't see any question on the chat. So thank you. Thank you, Jean. And according to the agenda now, we will have a 5 minutes short comfort break for a short coffee, and we will resume at, now it's 11:27, I would say at 11:35. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You don't need to leave the call. You can just leave the line open, and we get back in 11:35.
No, 35. So, 35.
I suggest we continue.
Yes. I hope you had the time to have a short break and a coffee. And now it's time for 2 member states that joined the TREIO training to share with all of us their experience relating to the training, their approach, and I would say also feedback and advice that they can provide to the audience. So the first presentation will be by Antonia Giannakopoulou. Antonia is Judicial Secretary and AJN Contact Point for Greece to the Department of Extradition and Judicial Assistance at the Public Prosecutor's Office at the Court of Appeal of Athens. So, Antonia, you have the floor. If you want to share a presentation, you can share it. The modality is always the same. If you feel to pose, to put a question to Antonia during the presentation, please raise your hand or write it in the chat, and we will see when it's the good time for interrupting Antonia if needed, and go for the question. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me well.
Yeah, good morning.
Good. So let me introduce you to my colorful office. I think it's the most colorful office in the building. Okay, so dear colleagues and dear friends, you know who you are. My name is Antonia. I'm a secretary and also EGN contact point. I'm working with international cooperation for quite some time now. So I have quite of update and experience to share with you during the eEDES and TREIO training. First of all, I would like to thank Jean and Alexandra for their invaluable assistance during the training, before and at the actual time of the training. So thank you again to both of you. And thank you for allowing me to share my experiences for the training in Greece. So the training took place in February this year. We decided to make online training so that we could share our experiences and the training with as many people as possible. It was a 2-day training, as I explained. We have invited judges, prosecutors, administrative staff from all over Greece, and they were all familiar with issuing and executing EIOs. The first day was dedicated to the legal basis of the EIO. So we have explained all the legal situation and the best practices and maybe the worst practices. We have received many questions for what is going on all over Greece, because it was, I think, one of the first ever meetings where we could discuss issues on the EIO directive. So it was a very fruitful meeting for all participants. The second day was devoted to eEDES. The participants were already given passwords, and they had access to the demo platform so that they could have a first look of the eEDES platform. And this was very helpful for us because they had managed to see what the demo platform was about, and a first chance to get accustomed with all the various tools. But as you know, a step-by-step presentation was conducted during the second day of the training. We decided to do a simple let's say demonstration, as the one that Mr. Christian Nicolaou was showing us in the beginning of this meeting. The platform can be a bit challenging at first because, as you probably know, not all prosecutors and judges and people who issue or execute EIOs are familiar with the technical stuff. They are in the judiciary, so it's not always they're not so familiar with the technical aspects. So we try to be as simple as possible. We received a lot of questions on the use of the platform. I can give you some feedback that we received for the eEDES. They were one of the comments and good opinions that we had was the translation option that was available in all languages. Because even though we need a certified translation, but in urgent cases, the platform enables us to acquire, let's say, automatic Google translation of maybe an investigative measure, so that the executing authority can prepare before receiving the actual translation. So that was good feedback that we had. Also, another good feedback that I would like to share with you is the possibility to get statistics very, very easily, because in Greece, at the time being, according to our legislation, all judicial authorities issue an EIO if needed, and they send it directly to the executing member state. So this means that it gets a bit challenging for the central authority to gather statistics. So when in the future the eEDES is finally fully operational, and there will be a kind of, let's say, moderator or a girl who access the platform, and this will enable an easy method to acquire the statistics that we are very, very usually needed to present to other organizations. The only issue that I would like to share with you is also that it's a demo, it's a pilot phase. So in Greece, the problem is that we are not allowed, according to our legislation, to share the evidence acquired by an EIO, and we cannot give it and transmit it to the other member state electronically. So we are waiting for the e-evidence regulation and see how this will put in place. And then this will enable us as executing authority to easily send out the evidence gathered in a safe and digital way. We also took the opportunity during the eEDES platform presentation to again show the colleagues, a few colleagues that were not familiar with the EJN Atlas, which is at the time being the only available tool online that can guide the issuing authorities to locate the executing authority. So we are very pleased to have this opportunity as well. My experience during the training has been a really, really fruitful one because it gave rise to legal and practical issues as well. We also got, as probably in all member states, the question as to where this platform will be available. Of course, we were not able to give this update to the colleagues, but they were all very, very eager to use the platform and to use eEDES as soon as it becomes available to all member states. And these are my remarks during the training. I also suggest in order to involve more people to use it, to use the online training, because you can cover the whole member state. And again, for those of you who will perform the training, make it as simple as possible, because the platform can be a bit puzzling at the beginning. But then again, Alexandra and Zan are always there to assist us and help us through the whole procedure. So that's all for me. Thank you again for everything. I'm gladly answer any questions you might have. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Antonia. I see no hands raised at the moment. On the chat, there are no questions, but I have one question for you. And if you have to make a balance between the technical and the legal part, the first question is, your audience was more interested in one of the two, more, or in equally, the legal and the technical?
We had questions on both bases, legal, because as I explained, we had this, is it secure? Can we do it? Can we send the evidence to this platform? The practical, not so much. I think it's a matter of getting accustomed to the platform. So the first, let's say, couple of demos you will do as issuing an executive authority, and then as all platforms, then you get accustomed to it. But mostly it was some legal issues, and also when we'll have access to actually using it, because if we're going to use it in like 3-year time, we'll probably forget what you taught us like this year. So that was the questions from the colleagues. Thank you.
And the second one is, when you did the training and you went into the system, was it useful for those who didn't have any familiarities?
I was not familiar. I was not familiar at first, because I was doing the eEDES platform presentation. At first, I was a bit skeptical, but then I tried a few times, because I wanted to show how I can make it more accessible and more easy for the practitioners. For example, you don't have to do everything, all the buttons and stuff. And also, it was very useful, as Christian showed us and showed to the meeting today, that the platform does not allow you to make any mistakes. So there are some safeguards to guide you and fill in the correct forms.
Thank you. Jean?
No, I just wanted to add how much I appreciated how our colleagues did it, because they really showed that the legal and technical go together. We need a good system, but we never can forget the legal environment within which we work. So thank you, Antonia, for this excellent presentation.
And there is a question on the chat by Andreas Kyriakides.
Sorry for my Greek. Yeah, Andrea, from Cyprus.
How much time it took to be organized and prepared? I guess the training.
Less than we expected, because Andrea, we had a meeting before with TREIO team, with Alexandra and Zan. So there we exchanged views, how to make it more accessible, what should we pay attention to, and then for the actual training, I think less than 3 days. That's it. It's like, in a couple of weeks tops, and you don't have to work every day. You are ready to go. And also they provide you with excellent manuals, and any questions that you might have or your colleagues might have will be answered in an instance. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonia. Okay. Okay, very good. So I think it's a very good confirmation by Antonia that the legal and technical goes together perfectly, and one needs each other to be useful, I would say. So, if there are no questions for Antonia, let me check once again, because I see the chat that is no. Okay. Okay. So, thank you once again, Antonia. And now it's time for hearing about the same experience in the TREIO training by Julio Borbosa e Silva. Julio is a public prosecutor in the Regional Department for Criminal Investigation and Prosecution of Coimbra in Portugal. So we will hear about training, TREIO training done in Portugal. And Julio, you have the floor.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to try and share my screen. Just let me know if you're seeing. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, all good.
Yes.
With the presentation, because I cannot see my own screen. So
yes, it's right at the first slide of the presentation.
You can see it. So the eEDES system. Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to change it. Sorry, I'm going to change it now. You can see it?
Yes.
Okay. Let me, if in case anything goes wrong, just let me know and we'll try to sort it out. So, first of all, thank you for the invitation for the Portuguese authorities to share our experience with the eEDES system. We're going to do something slightly different because we thought that we would not only since we have meaningful experience in both the training and the system itself, we thought it would be a good idea as well to speak just a tiny bit about how our experience with the eEDES system is going in Portugal. So, as you all know, or some of you might not know, we in Portugal we take part in the pilot phase through the General Prosecutor's Office. And we are, as most of you know, or some dealing with, those of you who are dealing with the system, we are among the first group of member states to activate the system. Right now, we have pilot departments that started issuing and also are able to execute EIOs through the eEDES system. Currently, we have the Prosecutor General's Office, which has, of course, residual intervention in the European Investigation Order, since, as you all know, things are made particularly between authorities, executing and issuing authorities. We also have the Investigation and Prosecution Department of Aveiro, my own department here in Coimbra as well, and the TSIAP, which is the prosecution department with jurisdiction in all over the country. So right now we are currently able to issue the EIOs to the following countries: Spain, with which we are having meaningful and fruitful experiences in any location. So sometimes, as you will see now, most of the countries we are dealing with only have a handful of cities or a handful of departments for which we can issue EIOs. So for Spain, we work on a case-by-case basis. So we send an email and we check with our colleagues whether or not they are able to receive EIO by Portugal. So when they give us the green light to go, we send it, irrespective of the city in Spain for which we tend to issue our EIOs. In France, currently Bordeaux and Lille. Luxembourg, Diekirch. Belgium, we work seemingly like Spain, Antwerp and Liège, but we can issue to any location on a case-by-case basis upon consultations. In Austria, we are able to issue to Vienna. Germany, Cologne, Kleve, Dortmund, and Turnstein. Latvia on a case-by-case basis as well, and Hungary on a case-by-case basis upon consultation as well. So we have some numbers to share. So this is a good experience that we're having. So far, we issued 8 European investigation orders, 7 to Spain and 1 to Belgium. Actually, we're 5 days away from the first anniversary of the first EIO issued through the system, which was in July 17th. I said 17th, but I think probably it was the 14th. I believe it was the 14th. There's an error over there. So we're approaching our first anniversary. We received 1 EIO for execution from France, which is a bit odd since it was through the General Prosecutor's Office, which isn't really supposed to receive for execution EIOs. And above all, it was from a country or from a city which wasn't really able to reach us through the system. So it was interesting to receive it that way. As far as training is concerned, we have we held TREIO. The TREIO had a training on the European Investigation Order Project. TREIO had one master trainer's training. I was the master trainer from Portugal in November and December 2021, and then we held what they call cascading training for trainers. So we a bit different from Greece and namely other countries who held different trainings as well. We had to think when we were invited to do this training, we had to think who would specifically be our audience. And we thought it would be more interesting to have a different audience from any given prosecutor or any given judge in the country. So just to let you know what happened in Portugal, we first have to explain how we are organized. So we have 23 comarcas, what we call comarcas. We can call translated by counties or districts in a rough translation, but we are divided into 33 circumscriptions. And in each one of those circumscriptions, we have what we call a cooperation prosecutor, which is a public prosecutor, which is specifically trained and specialized in judicial cooperation in criminal matters. So every time our colleagues or judges or even judicial clerks have some doubts or some problems relating with judicial cooperation in the European Union or outside the European Union, these cooperation prosecutors are the person to talk to in order to get things going, in order to sort out any doubts that people may have about judicial cooperation, and so on. So we thought it would be interesting, since it was a cascading training. First up, we would do this training specifically for cooperation prosecutors, and then from them we would go down to other prosecutors. So the idea with the Portuguese training was that we would have these cooperation prosecutors being trained by us, and then in each comarca they would train themselves other prosecutors. So the cooperation prosecutor in the future would be able to train their colleagues and so on. So from going down the pyramid, as we might put it. So we held the training in the 11th of November of 2022 in the General Prosecutor's Office. It was in presence, so we were thinking also what would be more fruitful for the training in presence or through the computers, and we thought that would be much more fruitful to have a training in person. So that's what we did on that day, and essentially it was a full day of training exclusively dedicated to training on the eEDES system using the training materials provided by TREIO, and many of them were, of course, since we had that choice, most of the training materials were adapted by the master trainer to suit the needs of the participants, because most, as you might guess, most of these cooperation prosecutors already had a lot of experience with the EIO, so many of the training materials weren't really that much needed or that much interesting concerning the EIO or the EIO directive or law or the Portuguese law which transposed the directive. So that wasn't very interesting. So we had to adapt, and it wasn't really easy to adapt. So we chose to put our focus on the eEDES system rather than the EIO legal issues. So on the afternoon, so we held something more specifically directed or more formal, more legal, or more not so hands-on approach in the morning. And on the afternoon, all the participants were asked to issue EIOs on the system, using the system, completing Annex A, signing Annex A, as well as the acknowledgement of the reception of EIOs, and also filling in and sending Annex B. Of course, there were doubts, there were issues, but a close attention, of course, was paid to the needs of every participant throughout the issuing and execution exercises. At the end of the day, all the participants were asked to contribute with their opinions on the system, its practical terms, the pros and cons, what's the added value of using the system, as opposed to what we do currently with the annex, with the word forms and issuing through either by post or using the emails. And most of them have the opinion that globally it was user-friendly and intuitive. And so that's, in a nutshell, that's what we did in with both our experiences, the training and the system itself. And I would think it would be interesting, just some food for thought. We can discuss this later on if you want to, but I chose 4 issues and challenges that we thought it would be interesting for us to discuss and for the future of the eEDES system. So first, our concerns of how the future interoperability with the e-Codex system is going to get done. And of course, we have some issues with the current incapability of the system to handle large files. So it's reduced to 4 gigabytes, and an alternative solution, to my knowledge, is yet to be identified. Secondly, we have some issues and some current issues with participation and connection level of various member states or amongst national authorities, which largely differs and can pose some technical issues as well. So here in Portugal, we still have to decide whether or not, better, who will have access in the future to hold the eEDES system. So we have to give access and credentials to thousands of people, administrative authorities, thousands of prosecutors and judges. So this will pose a specific problem, or maybe not, but we have to have some internal decisions as well on who will specifically use the system and who will have credentials to use the system in the prosecution service, namely. So thirdly, Eurojust is not directly connected to the system, although the national members desk can have access to the eEDES system through the national CMS. And lastly, and more importantly for us to discuss, and given the experience of the Portuguese authorities, the lack of knowledge and mainly the lack of interest in working with the system, even for those who have access, as is the case of Portugal. So there are a few pilot authorities throughout the member states, which can pose difficulties in dealing with the system and increasing the use of the system. In Portugal, currently, although we have 3 departments with comprising of 30 or 40 prosecutors, only here in Coimbra, we are the ones issuing EIOs through the system. This is to say that many prosecutors have access to the system, but they are not really interested in using the system. So this poses great concerns on my part. So whether or not the future will bring a brighter scenario. And this is something that probably TREIO will have to deal with as well. So how can we make the system and the use of the system more interesting to the colleagues? Because as we all know, judicial authorities, at least in my country, are a bit reluctant changes and to change the way we work. So this will be a challenge. I think it will be an interesting challenge because we have that challenge as well here in my department, and things are going not that bad. So I think the future, an overlap of mixed feelings. I'm still enthusiastic and optimistic about all of this eEDES system, and I think things are going with more or less difficulties going to get to a positive outcome. Thank you for listening.
For your presentation, and also for these very interesting points of the last slides. I think that they are issues at stake currently, because it's what we have faced during our project is what I think we are trying to sort out somehow, also with these events that we are organizing under TREIO together with the European Commission, with Christian. We felt the need to raise awareness, because this is the first thing when you want to produce change. Raising awareness is the first thing. Then the second is, of course, as you said, to realize, to convince people that is reluctant, because actually when you produce a change, specifically in the legal domain, I experienced this also at the university, and specifically in the judiciary, it's very difficult to convince them that the change will bring some more facilities to their daily work. So awareness, try to convince them about that the change is needed and it's useful to them. And then, of course, as also Antonia said, try to find the best way to bring them inside the context, and combining both the legal and the technical, the system. We thought that was the good point, because you must bring them to get inside the context in a complete way, not only showing one part and then the other part, because this will render the things more complicated. If you give them the training and you offer there to learn by also playing with what they have available, it will be better and easier to realize. So thank you very much. Let me check, first of all, with Alexandra, if there are some questions on the experience of the countries, on the...
No, nothing in the registration forms.
Okay, so I have no hands raised in the list. I have no questions in the chat, but I can see Christian now. I don't know if he wants to react somehow to some points that Julio and Antonia have raised during their presentations.
Thank you very much, Mariangela. Of course, I can already now, but that also with the overlap with my closing remarks. So if you would accept bundling everything in one intervention,
perfect. It's
I'll
okay.
be very happy to intervene right now.
Okay,
so,
thank you. As you prefer, Christian, as you prefer.
Yeah, I would go directly now. So one of the very good news that I'm bringing you forward is that the Commission proposal on the digitalization of cross-border judicial cooperation was adopted by the co-legislators. is not yet officially published. It is in the phase of legal translation, but there is an agreement that is reached, and normally it will enter into force, the legislation, by the 1st of January 2024. I would just like to share my screen with you because there are some points that I think you might want to see. Now, can you see my screen?
No, yes, it's coming. Okay.
And the PowerPoint. So just to be sure that you are seeing the right screen.
Yes, yeah.
It says digitalization proposals, key elements.
Key elements. Perfect.
Yes,
so,
I can see.
First of all, thank you very much. The proposal contains a few elements, some of them that we have discovered in the process of the eEDES digital exchange system. Because I have to tell you that the experience that we gained with the eEDES digital exchange system and with the Codex since 2017 has helped us shape this legislation. First of all, because we find out that for the signatures, and it was the case from the colleague from Greece that explained that still in Greece there is no legal base for sending evidence in electronic format, was one of the gray areas of the legislation. So what we have tried to make sure with the digitalization proposal is that no evidence is rejected only on the account that it's presented in an electronic format. Also, we have made sure that qualified signature are acceptable for submitting documents and requests in cross-border judicial procedures. Also, we have offered the legal basis for video conferencing for all our hearings, but this under some very clear conditions that have pertained to the legality, of course, of the procedure itself and the rights of the defendant. And last but not least, we ensured that eEDES and the Codex are supporting all cross-border judicial cooperation instruments in Europe. So as a consequence of the digitalization proposal, in the next 8 to 10 years, we will be digitalizing all cross-border judicial procedures. This is the roadmap for the eEDES digital exchange system in the next almost 9 years. It starts with the entry into force by the end of this year of the digitalization proposal, and with starting with the configuration of the implementing acts in the upcoming years, and then with the actual implementation of the ITC. Just to tell you that the first instruments that will be added on the criminal justice side will be the European Production and Preservation Orders, the eEDES proposal by 2026. And then we will have the official obligativity for the use of the eEDES digital exchange system for exchanging EIOs as of 2027. Also, as of 2027, the eEDES digital exchange system will be used for exchanging European arrest warrants.
Dobra, może tak być.
So this would be our digitalization roadmap. It's enshrined now in legislation, so I can safely say that the use of eEDES will gradually increase. Now, if to the questions from the colleague from Portugal, so the interoperability of the eEDES digital exchange system with the local system, of course, will be further enhanced, because now it's clear that the eEDES digital exchange system is here to stay. And I think that at national level, also the IT teams will be compelled and also have the resources to connect the system with the national system. As we are looking at the time frame of 8 to 10 years for digitalization or cross-border processes, you can imagine that this would be a work in progress. However, as soon as 2026, the eEDES digital exchange system will be compulsory for criminal justice in the use of exchanges with the competent authorities for eEDES. In the case of large files, in September this year, we will be kicking off the technical specification, the expert group that will shape the exchanges for e-evidence, for the European Production and Preservation Order. And there, of course, we will have in the expert group the representative of the internet service providers, some of them which are very big tech companies. This is why the matter of handling large files, we left it for that discussion, because at this moment worldwide there are many possibilities of exchanging large files. But we would want to be looking at this exchange of large files from the perspective of getting evidence from the internet service providers, where I think it would be the first case where we would be dealing with volume of data, and then we can analyze what would be the best solution for such an exchange. It is highly unlikely that we will end up building a solution, but it is much more likely that we will be agreeing on a set of solutions that already exist from commercial service providers, because this is one use case that is commercially available and it was handled by tech companies. Then, regarding the participation and connection level, we had a meeting with our French colleagues about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they are actually actively promoting e-evidence. They have made a presentation to the Italian colleagues, because indeed also they are encouraging other prosecution and courts to use eEDES in the exchange of investigation order, because this also, to the experience of the practitioners that were able to work with the system, is helping them a lot in their day-to-day activities. Regarding Eurojust, indeed, we are at this moment building a so-called reference implementation. So what I have shown you that is translated, the interface that I have shown you that is translated in all languages of Europe, in all 24 languages, official language of the European Union, is the same in every member state. However, the case of Eurojust, it's a little different. Therefore, we have made with the Eurojust an analysis, and we will start building an interface for Eurojust to be able to have access to the e-evidence digital exchange system in the conditions, strict conditions that are set by the European Investigation Order Directive and also by the regulation that is governing the functioning of Eurojust. And last but not least, indeed, regarding the use of the system, we have all these partnerships like the one with TREIO, and we hope to be continuing to have partnership also with AJTN or AGN in promoting the system and promoting the use of the system, even before it becomes compulsory for all competent authorities to use this system in all member states. Also, in parallel, the e-evidence digital exchange system will be supporting exchanges in civil justice cooperation. And the first use case that will be supported by the e-evidence digital exchange system in civil justice cooperation is service of documents, and actually there are two cases, service of documents and taking of evidence, and that as of May 2025. So gradually to different legislation appears the obligativity to have the e-evidence digital exchange system installed in courts and most competent courts to be connected to the system. So first of all, as of May 2025, there would be one instance of the e-evidence digital exchange system in all member states, but for the civil side. That doesn't mean that the system will not be used or usable for exchanging EIOs and MLA already as of 2025 in all member states. Moreover, as of 2026, as I said, it would be live for the European Production and Preservation Order, and as of 1st of January 2027, the system will be compulsory to be used for the European Investigation Order and European Arrest Warrant. And like that, every other year, there will be more instruments in cross-border judicial cooperation that will be added to the system. So I hope that by that I am able to address both your questions and to show what is the timeline for digitalizing the cross-border judicial cooperation in Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christian.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think that we have to go now to the last presentations that we have about the TREIO tools for judicial training. Then we will have a final time slot for all
Mariangela,
questions.
I think there was also a question in the chat. I don't know whether you would like to take
Yes. So I think that we can address these questions afterwards, because it's going a little bit to some earlier stuff. But
okay.
So we have to go now to the next presentations about the TREIO tools for the judicial training. These are two tools that have been realized under the TREIO. And the first one is the e-learning course, the TREIO learning course. And I will invite Georgina to please present this tool. And afterwards, we will have eEDES simulator for European Investigation Order business workflow, which have been realized by our Greek colleagues. And Yannis Tsatsmatis will have the floor. So Georgina, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I will just share my screen, so bear with me 2 seconds while I make sure that you have the correct screen up. If you can just let me know if you can see the screen okay?
We can. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So nice to meet you all, and lovely to hear some of the progresses so far and some updates. I'm here to update you on the TREIO online training. So this is comprised of the e-learning content and also a tool, as mentioned by Mariangela. And I will give you some brief ideas of how it can be used and kind of the way in which things are presented, and also how we've got to this point so far. So firstly, I will cover the e-learning course, and then we will cover the tool. And to develop the e-learning course, we took the experiences from the on-site in-person trainings, where we adapted the training materials to an online fashion. So it's a collection of theory and practice. As we recognise, there is an importance to keep in mind the legal aspects as well as the technical aspects. So we had a position to storyboard the materials and to design various exercises and demonstrations, and also some simulations, which we'll come to a bit later, and also using the tool that we mentioned for those simulations. But part of the online training and maybe some of the difficulties in online training is tailoring to multiple stakeholders. And I think that's something that's been quite effectively done within the on-site and in-person trainings. And we've tried to learn from those experiences based on what the stakeholders require in terms of what their previous knowledge may be and various other aspects to try and kind of provide a flexible approach in the learning as much as feasibly possible. And I will come to this a bit later on. So as I mentioned, we've taken some of the experiences from the on-site in-person trainings where we were able to understand a bit better the target audience and potentially some existing skills and knowledge. And obviously there's a vast amount of knowledge among some practitioners and different stakeholder groups. And then there are new starters who maybe need more information about the EIO directive or the EIO form, or there are others who just need to know how to use eEDES, for example, because they have all of the other knowledge to hand. So there are various different things to take into account. We obviously had to design a course that was beneficial to the learner, so different instructional and testing strategies, and also learning objectives that were relevant and measurable, but also kind of specific and useful to their day-to-day business. So whether you're filling in an EIO form on 3 occasions in a year, or whether it's your daily work. Integrating the content, we have decided that we would take an approach which is very much self-paced. So that was something that we really had to think of with regards to the learning resources, and also the fact that there is no instructor-led aspect. So obviously that needs to be taken into account too when you're designing and developing the materials to benefit the end users as best as possible. And then we have the implementation and evaluation. And the implementation is the participants' engagement and kind of communication of the information and interaction with that information. So the actual learning itself, the platform, and the various resources that have been utilised. And then you have the evaluation, which we're looking to more like the perceptions of the learning and the environment and various outcomes, etc. So this is an idea of the model we've taken and how we've tried to address different stakeholders within that model. We had various tasks, one of them to deliver a suitable online training platform, i.e. a learning management system. And in this instance, for this project, and specifically for the TREIO online training pilots, we will use the ECTEGS Moodle. The content is developed in a way which enables us to export the content as a SCORM package. And this is a specific e-learning package that is used in most cases to export trainings, and they can be incorporated into different learning management systems. And as I mentioned before, the training will be on a self-paced basis. So there will be no instructor to lead, and it will be very much a student or learner-centric approach where they kind of keep track of their own learning, which may be beneficial for a vast amount of people, considering different time schedules and business requirements and so on. And to the e-learning content, as I said, it's online, self-paced, about 1 week is what we estimate the training will take. And as I said, it incorporates theory and practice, so that's everything included. And the main pilots that we will conduct in the upcoming months will be in English first off for the pilots, but beyond that we will have translations to achieve. So that is a key point as well. For the overview, we have several different lessons or modules, you might call them. So we've tried to split the content up into various categories where we think there is key information that the learners need to be aware of. So for example, the legal aspects and instruments, to the basics of an EIO and how the form works or its content, and various other things with regards to issuing and executing, and then some extra bits about the ITNs and MLAs. So there's quite a lot packed in there, but it's very comprehensive in terms of what you may need to know, and it has various demonstrations throughout which focus on eEDES and at the various reasonable points within the training where they make sense. When we think about the e-learning, we've tried to cater to different learning styles, and that's quite difficult as everyone does learn differently. So some people may benefit from videos or graphics, some people may benefit from just having text to read, while others may benefit from actively doing things. So in an online package, we have tried to incorporate various different aspects of those learning styles and teaching styles in the best way possible, given the content that the practitioners need to be abreast of. So some of the training includes audios. There are some text-to-speech audio, but these are only included in the very short videos. The longer videos, or kind of videos for demonstrations, just include subtitles. They do not include the voiceovers, purely because they're not particularly well fitted to the delivery of the training in different languages. As you can imagine, they have to be recorded in all of those different languages, and there are different dialects and many other things to consider. So the graphics and things will remain in English, but there will be some translations in subtitles and various other aspects included. So one of the other reasons for not including audio is that if you're asking practitioners to work on the training in their work time in an office, it might not be conducive to have some e-training or e-learning where it's blasting out sound. So the best approach we took was to alleviate that situation. In the course, we have various different types of content, and you can see in the next few slides where we've tried to incorporate different aspects to address each of the different learning styles that may be beneficial for practitioners. So we have some textual-based content, which is very dynamic. As the window moves, the text also moves, so it can be used on different devices or different size windows, etc. So that's a benefit, and obviously for the legal aspect it's quite heavy, I would say, in text. So having some specific information there and being concise yet including as much as possible is feasible through the textual based content. We also have some graphics, and you would have seen a graphic on the previous page as well for how an EIO form looks, which can be clicked on and expanded. But we have other graphics where we've tried to make the process visible to the practitioners so they can clearly understand how things work or how things are achieved or where they may fit in a process, for example, or other aspects. So graphics are also included. We had, as I mentioned, some videos. There are some short videos which I mentioned have sound. This is one example which does have sound, however I will not play it. But as you see, it also has subtitles at the bottom. So these are often used as snippets where we've tried to either reinforce a point or we have made a kind of animation of how something might work. So these are embedded throughout the content. We also have some knowledge checks. So you saw there were around 5 modules, and those modules are split into smaller components within those 2. And after the end of each module, then there's a knowledge check. These knowledge checks are not meant to test the learners. They are meant to kind of just check that they have been through the training and they have gained the knowledge necessary from that particular module. However, the exam at the end of the course follows a similar structure. So this is why we have mentioned the exam here as well. As I have mentioned previously, we have some demonstrations, and this is what a demonstration looks like. They're in a video format. Again, we have included subtitles, and the playback has been slowed down enough that participants are able to view the demonstration as best as possible. They can obviously fast forward the video if need be, or pause it, but it also allows to either just watch the demonstration or allows someone to follow along using the TREIO eEDES simulator, which we'll come to later. In each of the videos, you will see that there were some sections, and I'm going to show you a demo of one of them now. And it basically, I have obviously, rather than do the demo now, I've videoed it, but you can see each of the demos has sections. It has the subtitles and it has various sections throughout the video. These sections are basically where we have chopped up the demonstration into various parts. So this one is about filling in an EIO from sections A to D. And we go through all of the sections and we basically fill in the EIO. And we maybe fill in mock data, or we fill in information that we feel is useful to the participant to realise when they are filling in an EIO. So the demo is used for multiple purposes in that way. It also has the different sections, which when you get to each of these sections, some of them may include a little bit of extra information, for example. And the extra bit of information is usually about things that you would need to know about. So for example, in this case, we mentioned the EGN Atlas, and we try and provide as much information on top of just the demonstration of how to do something. So in this case, it's this, but further on in the video, it might be about automatic translations, for example, and how there are things that you need to be aware of, or if there are any particular things that you should take consideration for. So the demonstrations try and incorporate some key facts, I would say, as well. We also include some simulations, and this is on top of the TREIO eEDES simulator that we will talk about later. But these simulations are embedded in the training. They are basically where we have acted as the person filling out the necessary form, and they include clickable elements where the participant can walk through the particular activity of the simulation, and they can do the task themselves. So in this example, it's embedded in the course, and it's about filling in a new request for one of the forms. And as you will see, I have videoed instead of demonstrating it to you live in case there are any issues, but they have to click on the various aspects. So for this, it's an ITN. And you can see, because we cannot have a text input in this case, we have included the text for participants. But we go through various aspects of any annex or any part of the form that we are simulating, and we expect the participant to click on the elements that we tell them so that they follow through, they understand what they're doing and how it's working. And then we kind of give an overview at the end to make sure that we've covered all aspects with regards to the simulation. You can see in this instance we've used our TREIO eEDES simulator, which is beneficial because it mimics the eEDES platform, but it allows the students to afterwards go away from this simulation and actually try and do this themselves in the TREIO eEDES simulator. So that is particularly of benefit. We also have some practical exercises. There are a minimum number of set tasks within the training that we expect the practitioners to complete before they move on to any other modules or exam. And they will use the TREIO eEDES simulator, which they will be given access to perform these tasks. After most of the set tasks, practice exercises, they will be asked to complete a short knowledge quiz, and each of the practical exercises will be provided in a PDF format, so the trainees can take them away after and also continue to practice them and brush up their skills in any refresher courses they may need to take in the future. So overall, they will use the legal aspects that they have learnt within the theory of the training. They will use the demonstrations they've seen, the simulations, and finally they will actually perform some of these use cases themselves through scenarios we have devised and tasks we have set them. For the delivery of the online training, we have got to the point where we are basically just putting some final touches to the training content, and it will be a case that we will be piloting the training in the coming months, as I mentioned before. So we are on track to being able to evaluate what we have created and identify how it works and functions from a pool of participants who will pilot the training. So the next steps are acquiring some registrations, and hopefully from some of you, and then publishing the course. The pilots will take place in English and self-paced. They will be online, and then we will also consider the content translations. And obviously at the end of the project, we don't want this to just disappear. We want this to be able to be used. And as such, the dissemination and communication after this is really important, as well as currently in the project. So as mentioned before, if you have questions about the e-learning or access to the pilots, then we're happy to take them, but we have a registration form where you can register your interest to hear more about the upcoming TREIO online training pilots and the exclusive access to the TREIO eEDES simulator, which you'll hear about in a minute. So you can use the link or the QR code that you see on the screen. Otherwise, you can email the office at treio.eu for more information. And I would like to pass over to my colleagues who worked on the TREIO eEDES simulator, and then we will take questions about the whole online training and tool after, if that is okay with everyone.
Thank you, Georgina. Thank you very much. So, Yannis, you have the floor. Is Yannis there?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you, Maria Angela.
Very good, very good.
So I'm not sure if, can you see my screen now?
Coming. Yet?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Not
So,
yet.
well,
Not yet. The
Not
screen
yet,
is not,
Yannis.
Not now.
Not now?
Not now.
Sorry. How about now?
Yes,
Yes.
now it,
Yes.
Yes. Can you put it full screen?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so welcome to this last presentation, I guess, of the
Yannis,
day.
just to note, it's still not full screen, at least for me. It's still showing the main slideshow.
It's not right now?
Not yet.
Yeah. Let me try. I used the browser, so I'm not sure if
No,
this
no,
has...
it's just that it was not full screen. That was all.
It was okay, yeah. Okay.
It was not in presentation mode. That's all.
Exactly.
Okay, so...
Yes.
Yes,
Now it
Okay.
is perfect.
Now,
Perfectly.
Okay. So we prepared this presentation. Myself, I'm Yannis Almatsidis. I'm the IT manager, along with Ion Pangalos. So we're technical guys. So we're not going to give you the legal-wise, the legal part of the TREIO, of the EIO case. In a classic, let's say, instructor-based training, we have two entities, A and B, trying to communicate with the eEDES through the eEDES system. Probably since Christian did all the job during his demo, using the demo environment of the eEDES, I want to clarify myself that we try to do something very similar, but try to give a more realistic, let's say, engaging and interactive environment for the training. So we thought that how can we, for example, change the B part with the machine? So in that case, we have the TREIO autoresponder in taking the part B, and in that sense, we have this is more suitable, let's say, for a self-paced training with no time restrictions, 24/7. So this is the setup that we're going to explain. Very briefly, this is the architecture. We try to establish locally in the premises of Aristotle University a full eCodex gateway. On the one side, we have the eEDES simulator, which is a local installation. Let me explain that this is a local installation. We got a permission from the Commission, from Christian, to have this local installation here. And this eEDES simulator sends messages through this gateway and is available for training. And be careful, you don't need any national implementation. This is a very important aspect, that you don't need to do anything yourself. I mean, everything is on the simulator. Now, the eEDES simulator is able to communicate with another eCodex gateway, the one that we had before, the central testing platform. But as we prescribed in the proposal and in the grant agreement, we had to change it a little bit in order to support this type of real-time training for the EIO case. And the test coordination is done through the TREIO LMS, as Georgina said, and the TREIO autoresponder. So here you have, I mean, these are the two key takeaways. On the one side, you have the eEDES simulator, where the trainee, the student, let's say, uses. And on the other side is the TREIO autoresponder. The simulator, for example, is represented with member state XX. It's a fictional, of course, state, and the responder is the member state ZZ, because we're going to check that, for example, the cases that are produced are using this type of acronyms, let's say. So the current stable version of the eEDES simulator is based on eEvidence version 2.1.6, although this version is not the latest available of the RI, which is 2.2.2, as Christian demonstrated. There are no significant changes, in the content of the exercise. 2.2, 2.2. To note that we're going to have an upgrade of the simulator, which is planned by the end of July, after these two events that we're going to have this week and also during the next week. And this ensures that the training environment remains up to date with the latest developments in the field. So moving to the TREIO autoresponder, we have successfully completed the development of this module, and the autoresponder is capable of reading and responding to eCodex XML messages, as well as sending EIO cases ordered by the student herself or himself. So this functionality allows users to simulate real-world scenarios and test their understanding and their proficiency by themselves right away. So to ensure continuous improvement and expansion, the autoresponder will be regularly updated with new content and test cases, more realistic. For example, you can see here in the demonstration just after that we're not putting any, let's say, legal content. We need, of course, we have these two typical scenarios that the trainings are accustomed to. For example, the case of the victim that bought some goods that never delivered. So the request is of the EIO is to obtain the evidence of the bank transactions, or the other case with the email interception ending with payment to the wrong IBAN account. So we'll try to do our best to have these realistic, legally wise scenarios. And apart from that, we also managed to have in the two systems, because as I said, these are two different systems, the simulator and the autoresponder. They listen to a different web page. And these now, we have a single user name, credentials, username and password in both systems. And we'll try to do our best also with Georgina to provide the same account also for the LMS. So at the end of this day, I think that there is going to be an opportunity to express, to give you instructions on how to get access to the simulator, and we'll provide you with some accounts. We wish to have an as much as automated procedure for the user account provisioning. In conclusion, the local installation of the TREIO environment and the eEDES simulator provides users, we think so, with something that it is comprehensive and it's beneficial and gives you somehow a little bit of an added value, and I'll come to this just after. We cover up to now 2 different use cases. The one is the outgoing EIO, just as Christian demonstrated. Here, in the first scenario use case, you have the eEDES, the user being the eEDES simulator as the issuing state, and the role of the executing state is the TREIO autoresponder. Under this use case, we have 3 sub-scenarios where the system responds in a specific way. In the first case, in this first scenario, the case is acknowledged by the TREIO autoresponder and it is auto-answered with Annex B. In the second scenario, it is auto-answered with rejection. And in the third scenario, it is auto-answered again in a minute or so with a request for additional information. Now, in use case number 2, you have an incoming EIO where the student again interacts with the eEDES simulator, but now with the role of the executing state. The role of the issuing state is the TREIO autoresponder. So the user just needs to log in to the eEDES, the TREIO autoresponder environment and order particular exercises. If he orders, for example, exercise number 1, he needs then to acknowledge the receipt and send Annex B. If he orders the exercise number 2, the homework is to receive this Annex A in the simulator and reject. And in exercise number 3, he needs to request for additional information. So let us try to share my screen on the system. Can you see my screen now on the simulator?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm using a test user 1 account. And this is the exact same environment as Christian showed on the demo environment of eEDES. But in this case, you can notice, for example, that this is a pretty much similar environment, but there are some changes. Again, you have the dashboard, you have your issued requests. Okay. But let us go through quickly. Here I'm a user. This is my profile. As you can see here, I acquired all the different roles: center, reviewer, signer 1, signer 2, author, assigner. I'm also supervisor. The users, of course, we're going to have all these different roles, not the supervisor role. But let me go through very quickly to start an EIO. And it starts, as we said, Annex and Annex A. Very importantly, I think that you can do this in both systems, in a demo environment. You can use also a national case. For example, if you have a national, let's say, content management system, you can also correlate the national case here and you can save it. If this is the purpose, I mean, it is more easily searchable. And now you have to go through all these environments. The validation check is very important. So I'm going here. This is quite different from what you've seen from Christian. I'm going to send to the executing state, which is the TREIO autoresponder. It's a fictional, let's say, member state. And of course, you need to choose the authority. The authority now, we only have a single autoresponder authority. I select this. And I have to go through now the necessary sections. But here, it's a little bit different. In section C, if you go to this particular area, if I put test 1, or 2 or 3, the autoresponder reads this content and behaves accordingly. If I send, as I said, test 1, the scenario responds with acceptance. If with test 2, it responds with denial, rejection. And if I say there test 3, it requests additional information. And I'm going to go through very quickly all the necessary and section C, I would say for simplicity, judicial authority. And if I do the validation check, I think it is pretty much obvious that you don't need to do anything else. I save, I complete, since I have, as I said, acquired all the different roles. I accept the review. I sign. I have to use my smart card USB token now that I need to download. I can put my qualified signature. As we said, I mean, this should be a qualified signature according to eEIDES, the EU regulation 910 of 2014. I can place my signature whenever I want. It doesn't matter for digital signage. And save it. Okay, so I put already my digital signature, and then I upload. It takes some time, I mean, to do all the checkings, as Christian mentioned. I submit, I send. Now, the interesting part is then you have to follow what is going on and the event and message timeline. Here you can see all the transactions that took place up to now. And as soon as we update the messages, you can see here, I mean, we had Annex A. It's still working upon it. The autoresponder received the case, and upon this, and the text that we put test 1 in section C of Annex A, it behaved in a pre-described way as the student scenario mentioned. It takes usually a minute or so to respond. Hopefully, we're going to avoid any demo incidents. Still working on it. I mean, as we said, I mean, you can check your Annex A, you can get it in a PDF form, print it, whatever. You can download also the technical evidence. Okay, now the system responded. This is the interesting part. It responded directly because of the text that we put on the Annex A, confirmation of the receipt of an EIO. You can check also the token that it produced. Everything looks good. Everything is green here. All the validity checks of the signatures, the digital signature are okay, but you also received an Annex B. And this is the confirmation of what the training scenario prescribed. So that's the, let's say, the added value in the case of sending an EIO. On the other side, you can do something similar for the incoming. So if you get a password into the system, I can go here. I logged in. I mean, it is not in a public space. I mean, since it is a public space, I need to have my account. And I can order, for example, a TREIO exercise number 1. Okay. And I can also some identification. Otherwise, I mean, as you said, it was mentioned before. I mean, in this type of systems, and all users are accessing the same thing. So you need to identify what cases are ending up in your dashboard. So, for example, in this exercise, I just sent, and the system responded that you are receiving on the other side, on the simulator, this case. Okay, and if I go now back to the simulator, you can see now that I received an Annex A, just as I ordered it. And what my scenario says, I have to respond with an Annex B. For example, I can reject, I can do whatever I want, but in this scenario, that it is also published on the LMS or some document that you receive, you have to follow the instructions. You just have to acknowledge the receipt. You have to go through all these section A, B, C, and D, do your validation checks, and now go, let's say, work as an executing state, and you can also confirm receipt here and send the answer back to the TREIO autoresponder here. So you have close the loop, Annex A, Annex B, and everything is on the event and message timeline. Here, in a couple of seconds, the confirmation of the receipt of the EIO will show up here in our screen, because the TREIO autoresponder accepts and acknowledges the Annex B that we just sent back to the issuing state. So I think that that's all from my part. If you want me, for example, to go back to the issued requests, you can see here, for example, a case where I did test 2, denial, for example. This one, the system responded because I had in section C test 2 here. I got a rejection. If I go back to the case test 32, as I recall, yes, this one I said in Annex A in section C, I said test 3, and the system responded with request for additional information. Now, of course, instead of having a test 1 or 2 or 3 and making the autoresponder to behave on a particular way, you can put some legal, let's say, content to make it a little bit more realistic. I think that this is something that can be done in the course of the project till the December 2023 to make it a little bit more realistic and interactive. So that's all from my part.
Thank you, Yannis.
Thank you, Yannis.
Very much. Thank you.
Mariangela, there were some questions from the registration form. Should I take the time just to go through these quickly?
Yes, yes, please, Georgina.
Cool. So just looking at some of the questions maybe you submitted to us, I can see that we have a few questions around continuous training and the different ways to provide training to various different practitioners. So I think the one key thing to say is that the training style, or whether you take on-site or online approach, is going to be very much dependent on who is your target group for that particular session. It's also going to be very different for people who, for example, may have previous knowledge and vast previous knowledge of the legislation and the EIO form. in comparison to someone who potentially just needs more information on how to use eEDES, for example. So with that, it may be possible for you to contact us and for us to work with you on a one-to-one basis to try and identify the best way forward. What I would say in that regard, because there were a few questions around modalities of implementation and continuous training, is that the online training is particularly useful for all types of different content that you need to cover. So the content includes the legal aspects, the theoretical things, practical examples, and also the use of the simulator, which you've just seen. And that simulator accommodates different scenarios, so not just the one that's been presented to you, but obviously in accordance with the possibilities of the actual eEDES system. So I think the main thing to note is that we have this tool that you are able to use in a training environment. It should not be used for real life data, but there should be a number of mock scenarios that can be developed to utilize the TREIO eEDES simulator and perform the actions as if you were using eEDES. And this provides you with a safe environment for colleagues or practitioners to work with the EIO outside of the main platform. It also provides you, in terms of the online content, it provides you the ability to provide continuous training and also on an ad hoc approach. So for example, there might be a case where you have colleagues who don't fill in EIOs very often and they just need a refresher on how to fill in the EIO and how to use eEDES. On the other hand, you may have people who are new to the organisation or new to using EIO and have little awareness of the EIO directive, and you may want them to complete the whole online training package. So it's going to be very different based on the different and selective needs and prerequisites. I see there are a few questions around preparing oneself to use the eEDES. Again, the TREIO simulator is the ideal place, an ideal setting for you to feel safe and comfortable in actually working out how the system works. Obviously, there's some automation that we've added in for the benefit of your learning, but it enables you to figure out how the main eEDES platform works and you can make the mistakes now and then learn from them and apply your knowledge and what you have realized during those trainings to the actual use of the eEDES platform. One of the other questions which was also mentioned earlier was about participating in the trainings delivered by the TREIO Project, even if you are not a member state. We are happy for you to register for the online training pilots. So we demonstrated this slide earlier and we will send the details out after to you. So you will have the link and formal kind of request for interest, and if necessary, and if you have any other questions or you need to seek clarity in any way, then I would suggest that you contact the office at treio.eu and we'll be happy to help you with any other questions you have. And we hope that the kind of interactive approach of the online training will be of aid to everyone, in regardless of the different situations that you feel the training is beneficial to your colleagues or practitioners. So that's just some short responses to numerous questions which were similar. So if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask us now in the chat or by voice, and we're happy to answer them.
Thank you, Georgina. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see no hands raised, no questions in the chat. So we are almost on time, 10 minutes of delay, but I think that the last part has already been addressed by Christian before. My last part is I will not show any slide because I think that you have had enough stuff today. And what I would like to say is that all the things that you have heard, so starting from the TREIO materials, the TREIO methodology and approach to go through training in the different member states. These two tools, so the e-learning and the simulator, together with the eEDES system, will be part of a final toolkit, which will be the key for the future activities of TREIO over the life project cycle, I would say. So my task and the task of my team will be to put all these things together and to make, to render the TREIO sustainable and transferable also after that the project will naturally end. So at the end, we will deliver this specific toolkit with all the components that you have heard today about. And so the training will be possible also after the project life cycle. But it is very important that you keep in mind, as already been said by the different speakers, that we are here today to spread what we are doing, the efforts that we have given for realizing this training, and we are completely open to any kind of request that will come from those member states that are not part in the project and did not have the opportunity to join the TREIO training till this moment in time. So what you have to do, and I really ask you to do it, it's when we close this call, is to try to help us in disseminating what we are doing and the usefulness of this project and of the tools that have been presented today, because it's very important for us to have the opportunity to work also with those that didn't have the I would say the chance till now to know and to be aware of about the TREIO project and eEDES system. Okay, so for me it's all today. I would like to thank all of you for joining, for dedicating 3 hours of your time to hear about our efforts and goals and results, and also I would say ambitions. So thank you very much, and I would also like to thank the member states that presented their experiences. I have read in the chat that this was very helpful, and I think it's one of the main key that we can use for helping other member states to get involved, because if you see that it's not complicated to run for a training, you will have the opportunity to promote this training also in your member state. So Alexandra, Jean, Christian, I leave the floor also to you to say your last words. If you have any.
From my side, it's just if you need us, please do reach out. We're happy to share our knowledge with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Ladies first, Alex.
Oh, I just want to thank everyone who joined in today. It was a bit of a hectic registration process in the middle of some people's holidays, so I do appreciate your involvement today. We have an upcoming today on 17th, which is more or less covers the same topic, but from a more technical perspective. And if you're interested in the technicalities of eEDES and how it's implemented on national level, you can also sign up for that event as well. And after the summer, after August, we are to organize a series of events, some of them in person, some of them online. and we will let you know of all these activities in case you want to join. So in a way, stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Christian.
Thank you very much, Mariangela. Thank you very much, Alexandra. Thank you very much, Yanis. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. It has been an honor and a pleasure to be here today presenting the e-evidence digital exchange system. And also, I had the sense that this is not just something that it's related to one element that is nice to have, but is becoming a need to have. And I see that there is interest that is being built around the e-evidence digital exchange system, which makes the proof of the usefulness of the tool. Of course, we are still at the very beginning. As I said, we have 8 to 10 years to digitalize all cross-border judicial cooperation. This is a legal requirement, and I would just like to point out the fact that when we have decided to put forward the proposal for digital judicial cooperation, we have had consultation with the member states, and what we have received as a reply was the following, because we had several options. One of the options being that we would be continuing in a voluntary basis. And all the representatives of the member states that we have consulted, they said, if you would like to digitalize justice, then it's got to be compulsory for everyone. So I think that the future is digital, and the future is digital with an inclusive participation. And to foster the inclusive participation, we have these accompanying measures like TREIO, which is actually providing for an extremely important piece in the digitalization part, because it's not only about how to use an IT tool, which I would say that with the advancement of technology will become more and more easy and more self-explanatory, but also with the explanation of how to use the judicial instrument properly. Then we have colleagues that are proposing automation like Ion and Yanis, and this is absolutely fantastic because we are finding more ways to make these tools democratic, available for the practitioners to be able to actually find them and play with them in a safe environment before doing their actual jobs. So I would like again to thank you very much and to underline that the future is digital by law.
Thank you. I have Yanis raised the hand. So Yanis, please.
So the question is for Christian, actually. I mean, now that you saw this presentation about the simulator, do you see any value out of this? Because, of course, I mean, the demo environment is pretty similar. All we provide with the autoresponder is, let's say a more automated, more, let's say, real-time experience. But do you see, I mean, any value so that we combine forces on that?
Of course, I mean, the value was there from the very beginning, even before you were able to actually provide this autoresponder. And this is why we have started the collaboration on this direction. And I think more the question is for the colleagues that are practitioners, but from my perspective, I think it's great added value because then you would not need a partner to be able to use some scenarios in training in the European investigation order and later on to other judicial cross-border instruments, but you can do it your own following a scenario that will help you see how the tool works and also how the legal instrument works. So I would say that even further refinement of the scenarios would be much welcome based on the actual experiences of the practitioners that were able to deal with European investigation order that can give feedback and say, okay, these are the situations that I encountered in my activity. And I think these are the kind of situation that practitioner need to learn about, not to run into trouble or to delays basically when sending or executing an EIO.
Thank you, Christian.
Okay, so thank you very much. I hope you will have a good lunch and see you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.